Hello everyone, my name is Cesar Guerrero, and today I want to share with you everything related to service profiles. We'll go through what service profiles are, how they work, how to set them up, and the business cases where service profiles are. So I think we'll start there. And one thing about this presentation, I want it to be interactive, so I'll be in the system explaining to you visually. I think things just make more sense. So this is a service profiles object, and the way to think about it is really service profiles captures the record that relates an account to an address. I think this one is a good example. We have two 24/7 hospital group account. There's one account, but there are two addresses, right? So you can almost think about it as the company could be a mainstream company like 4M Technologies, but you might have a address at one location and then another one at another location. So in this case, 24/7 Community Hospital Group has a address in LA and another one in New Jersey, and that is really important when it comes to service, because when we are in service, we want to make sure that we are servicing the right address. The account is just part of what we need as a reference. We also need the address. So I just clicked into a service profile. Let's look at the page. One thing to note is there are two pages. This is the view with panels. So you can see all the different sections are broken up into panels. There is another view. I'm currently doing an implementation on 26B, where if we hit this eyeball with the paper icon, we'll be taken to a very similar page, but I'll tell you the discrepancies between this and the other one. So within service profiles, when we click on it, the main thing you'll see is the name of the account at the very top, and then the service profile number, and those two make up the service profile. If you look, the service profile name, if you look right underneath, we'll see the customer name, and we'll also see a lot of these details under the overview, but we'll see the customer name, that's the account, the service profile number, and then the next is the site address. So this is the site that's related to the account. As another note, site equals address. So anytime you hear me say site, I'm just saying one of the addresses. And you can have multiple sites, multiple addresses, and all those would be different service profile records, or there would be different service profile records to relate the account to those addresses. On the left, we'll see the overview page where we see a lot of similar data to the top. Next would be the notes area, where we can add a note related to this specific address or site. Next would be any contacts that are related. And this is important because when you're auto-populating an SR, depending on the contact that you have associated, will give you those options in the service request drop down as for contacts that are related to the service profile. The next one is assets. So these are the assets that are installed at this address or are related to this site. Next to that, we'll see our open service requests. And then the last area, I believe, is related to work orders. Yeah, so any pending work orders, and we can open them and create them from here. Now I'm going to click on this little eyeball or show details, the little eyeball with paper icon. And this looks a lot more like the updated view where it's just a list. You literally click in and it looks just like this. Again, the nice thing about this is you'll see you can add the contact here. So this would be that one area where you would be able to relate a specific individual to the site when you're calling or you're doing any maintenance on site. And then next to that, we'd see the notes, and you can add a note from the panel, or you can also add a note here. As we scroll down, one thing I want to show you is with assets. Assets can't be added here. This is done in the install base. So in the install base, there is an area where you can add an asset, and as you add an asset, you relate it to a site, and then underneath you'll see it's very similar to what we saw with the panels, where we have service requests and work orders, and these would be any service request related to this service profile or this site, and then any work orders related to this site as well. That is pretty much how service profiles work. Again, as an overview, a service profile is a record that captures the items related from an account and address. So those two create a relationship, which it would be the service profile, and then underneath that, you under the service profile, you would see the different areas like service requests, work orders, contacts related to that address. I gave a lot of information there, and I just wanted to give a lot of context when it came to what it is and a use case. And the use case I'll give you is, let's say you have a big store like Walmart, and maybe we're an HVAC company. If there's Walmart, there might be like 3 Walmarts in your city, and you need to be able to identify when there's a support request for each one of those Walmarts. And this service profile would allow us to do that. And that's what we're doing here. So the next thing I want to go over is, how are service profiles created? Where are they maintained? Because they are kind of done auto magically, and they're kind of not. There are some processes that have to happen. The first one is, we need to add an address on the account, and I will walk you guys through adding new service profile as well. So first, it would be adding the address. The next thing would be scheduling the process for service profiles. And then the third thing, depending on if you need the service profile to appear right there and then, you would need to go into configure adaptive search and run that process. So, and then after those 3 steps, that's how you can see a service profile appear. From there, you could do the different associations on the service profile, like adding the contacts, the service requests, work orders. You can add the asset and relate all that. And we'll kind of go through all of those different scenarios in this presentation. So let's choose an account that we want to create an additional service profile account. And I think I want to do this one. Let's do Business World. So I'm going to click into Business World. We can see Business World here. And this is in San Jose, but we're going to be taken to the account object. And here I'm going to add a new address. The account has loaded. Let's go into our smart actions. And I'm going to just type in the word address. And we're going to go add address. So right now, we're not working specifically on one address right now. We're working on the overall account. So I'm going to do the type on this, sell to, ship to. You can have different types, and this won't make a difference. I'm going to ship to. I'm not going to make it a primary. I'm going to add an address. I'm going to enter an address. Or let's do 123 or 1223 Test Street. And let's go for city. Let's go ahead and do something like Seattle. Washington, and then I'm just going to select a postal code. So I've added the address. I made it, the type doesn't really matter, but sell to, ship to, and then did 1223 Test Street at Seattle, Washington. And I'm going to just hit add. So now that address has been added. You can see at the bottom, changes are saved. So now I'm going to go back into service profile. So from here, I'm going to load Business World. And that way we can filter on all the Business World service profiles. And we should not see Seattle address, right? Our test address. And as you see, we don't see it. It's not there. There's 11 results. So what do? The first step we're going to want to do is go into the navigator, show more. And a lot of these, you can put them on a schedule so that way every time a new address is added, you don't have to go in and do this. You can have it on if multiple addresses are being added a day, maybe at the end of the day they're all loading up, or maybe every 15 minutes. It just depends on the frequency of your business or your business's want as far as frequency. So I'm going to go into scheduled processes, and we're going to run the scheduled process for service profiles. And so I typed in service profiles, hit enter, and load service profiles from sites. This is how we're going to get them to generate. We're going to hit OK. Then we're going to get another pop-up. And then I'm going to do an incremental run and hit submit. Then we're going to hit refresh. We can see that's waiting. I'm going to hit refresh again. And typically this scheduled process doesn't take very long. We can see that it's done already. Okay, so what's the next step? Now we have to go into setup and maintenance. So I'm going to hit on the top right, click into setup and maintenance. From setup and maintenance, I'm going to click on the right side, the task, and I'm going to go into search. And from search, we're going to look up configure adaptive, and it's configure adaptive search. And this is the last step when it comes to us as far as getting the service profile to appear. So I'm going to hit start process. And again, similar to when we were in scheduled process, I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, now we can see that the process has succeeded. So let's go back home and again look for Business World. And for your implementation, you're going to have these set for different frequencies based on your customers' needs and wants. But I'm just showing you the steps you would need, and then finding the frequency. You can follow Oracle's recommended frequency on their documentation, which will be linked in the video. So again, let's look for Business World. Okay, and we can see after searching for business world, we can see 1223 Test Street is down here. Let's go ahead and click into it. All right, so now we're in the Business World service profile. We can see that we have, again, the account, and then the account name again, the service profile number, and then our site address. Everything here is related to our service profile or to our, which means it's also related to the site address we have created. So let's add some information in here. Let's go into the show details. And I'm going to just add a contact and show you how that looks. So let's go ahead and we'll just add anyone. We might have to make one. None there. So yeah, let's do Elizabeth. And okay, contacts added. We're saved. One thing I want to know is that there's no asset associated. right now. So if we were to create a service request, there wouldn't be that association from an asset to a specific site. So let's go into install base and make that association. So now I am here in the Springboard. I clicked on install base asset, and I'm just going to look for any asset. Okay, so now I have a list of assets and items. Let's hit create on the right. And again, I'm not going to make an association to this asset. We're going to make an association to one of these items. Let's do 1111. Let's do for our item. Okay, so we're going to do a Supremo item. For reference, I was looking for just an item to add because an item is just a product. So we selected the Supremo 5000. I'm not going to add a serial number to it. Let's do business world here. So now with this, we're going to associate it to the account, but now we want to also associate it to a specific address. So next, we're going to look for the location. At the very top, this is going to search on the name of the account, and then we could further refine our search with the bottom two searches, but the address we want is right here. So I'm going to click into that. 1223 test. And with that, I'm going to hit save and continue. Or we could hit save and close. And now I'm going to go home. So here we can see our item or our asset 1111, Supremo, Business World, and we were able to see the site that it was on. But now let's go into service profiles and see how it looks there. Remember, prior to us doing this, there should have been nothing under assets, or there was nothing under assets. This is our business world test street. So what do we see? Our contact, our asset. And let's scoot a little further down. We can see that we don't have a service request or any work orders. But I want to show you how it all works together now that the service profile has been used. So let's click into create a service request. Okay, so we can see a few things auto-populated from here, right? Our account, our service profile, 149.1682, 149.1682. Okay, another thing I want you to see is if we select, if we select from the service profile, it would bring in the address from the service profile. However, this is cool. If we click on here, it's going to filter down to the only asset that is related to our test, to our test address. And this is the install base asset that we added, right? So I'm going to hit select. And now we can see our assets been added. And then the last thing I want to show you is from the service address source. So if we pull it from the address, this is the address that we've associated already on the asset. If we did the service profile, this is the address on the service profile. Essentially, they're the same address because we've related it in such a way. But if we wanted to, you would be able to pull it from the main account and bring in the main account address or the primary account address from the contact, or even have a one-time address. In this case, I would do it on the asset because I would want to repair it straight from the asset. And this is really how you see it all come together. Now we have our account, our service profile that's related to the asset, our contact who is also related to the service profile, and lastly, the service address that's related to the asset and the service profile. And all we would do now is I'm just going to type test, hit create. And now we can see the service request on the right. Work order works in a very similar way. Please let me know if you have any questions, comments, or feedback. Again, service profiles is one of those tools that I think is invaluable. Today, we were able to go over what service profiles are, how the business cases around them, and how to set up a service profile. So I hope you enjoyed this video.